afternoon. My name is Sheila Lamb, and I'm with the Virginia SBDC Network. For those of you that are not familiar with our organization, the Virginia Small Business Development Center is a partnership program between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and local host institutions throughout Virginia. With 26 locations across the Commonwealth, we provide training and technical assistance to small businesses in their local communities. Our one-on-one advising services are available at no charge. Today's webinar, Holiday Season Cybersecurity, Protecting Your Small Business During Peak Activity, is presented by the Virginia SBDC Network. Please save the date for the next webinar in our cybersecurity series, Cybersecurity on a Budget, Protecting Your Small Business Without Breaking the Bank. And that will be on December 19th at 12:30. I'll drop that registration link into the chat momentarily. We are recording today's presentation, and it will be posted on our website, virginiasbdc.org. Due to the large number of participants, everyone's microphone is muted and the chat feature is turned off. But if you have questions during the presentation, you can type those into the Q&A box and we will address them at the end of the session. We have also enabled the live transcript function, which you can show or hide via your own meeting controls. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter for today's session, Kiana Gainey. Kiana is a 20-plus year IT and cybersecurity industry veteran and has served as Chief Executive Officer for SecureTech 360 located in Springfield, Virginia since its inception in 2010. She is also the Cyber Industry Specialist for the Virginia SBDC. Welcome, Kiana.
Thank you, Sheila, and welcome to everyone. Today's presentation should be really fun as we're going to kick off the holiday season and really try to get you prepared about protecting your small business during peak activity. And what that really means is this is a time of the year where a lot of things for us may slow down, but cyber criminals, this is a time where they get really busy. Next slide. So again, my goal is to give you some tips so that you can be able to take this on for your own small business, and then we'll end with some questions and then some contact information if you have some follow-on questions after the presentation. Next slide. So yes, a little bit about myself. I've been in the industry about 20 plus years. I also own an IT and cybersecurity company, but what I'm most proud of is my role here at the Virginia SBDC. I love serving other small business owners. I understand all of the ups and downs of entrepreneurship and even putting together things like security plans, business plans. And so my goal is to be able to give you some lessons learned and things that I have learned as being in the industry and also as from a small business owner perspective as well. Next slide. So why is cybersecurity critical during the holidays? Holiday season brings a lot of joy depending on what you celebrate. You see a lot of promotions, sales, online traffic. So as you can imagine, everyone is either going to be hitting your email box with all different types of coupons and sales and promotions. So online traffic is going to increase tremendously. Cyber criminals use this time to exploit those resources and even the heightened activity. As a small business, you are also vulnerable to these type of attacks because this is when, the height of all of the online traffic, a lot of activity is going to be going online. And most of the work that we do either is online or we use our email as our main communication. So you'll see a lot of things hitting your email box over the next couple of weeks. And so one thing we want to be able to do just is stay alert because there may be a lot of unusual activity on your network and systems. And so just be aware that this time is a peak time. And so this is maybe the time to really, really monitor your activity on your network systems, application devices, or any ways that you use to communicate. Next slide. So just to give you some numbers about some cybersecurity threats, 43% of cyber attacks are targeted for small businesses, often because we have fewer resources, right? But that doesn't mean that large corporations do not fall, victim to this as well, even with the massive budget and a lot of resources. Some things are just basic principles that every organization, regardless of your size, can be able to help be able to mitigate some of these attacks or even really empower your employees or yourself to understand these attacks so that you can also be more, more of a preventive stance. 60% of small businesses close within 6 months of a cyber attack. That's usually due to financial loss or reputational damage, right? Just like with anything. And we've all received at one time or another, some correspondence in the mail where they're saying that they were a victim of a cyber attack, and maybe they're going to offer you something like credit monitoring, or they'll give you different things, and maybe you can write in if there's substantial loss to you or to the application or whatever was attacked. So this is the same concept, right? So that can happen to anyone regardless of their size. And then most of this is because of things like phishing attacks, social engineering attacks. Most of those, 80% of those are reported incidents. So that's that 20% that doesn't get reported. It makes it most common threat during the holiday season. And that's usually what I talk about with your emails being flooded now with all these different phishing attacks. Now they even got very crafty and even sending it by text messages because a lot of people use their mobile devices. Ransomware attacks are also increased by 105% in 2023. That shows you that these type of attacks are very sophisticated, but they're also taking off in massive amount of numbers, right? And you see, even if you're not directly attacked, how some of the industries of things that we use, such as healthcare or the airline industry, they become victims of these attacks, which can also affect your small business as well. So just keeping in mind that cybersecurity is on the rise, and even during the holiday season, these numbers also increase as well. Next slide. So think about it. Cyber attack happens. The cost of the cyber crime can range from 120,000 plus, depending on the cost of the data breach for your small business. The cost of a ransomware recovery can be, in the approximately about 84,000, which excludes downtime and your reputational impact. So we talked about that a little bit earlier. So there's not really a price tag, because depending on how the attack happened and how it impacted your users or your stakeholders or anyone that's using your services, those impacts can have lasting effects, right? You may lose a client or lose a stakeholder because of a ransomware attack or a data breach attack. Cyber attacks for small business now is in the millions. Collectively throughout the US. And this is some statistics that are based on even some of the Hiscox, which is a very popular insurance company that also offer things like cyber risk insurance to help with some of these, offset some of these costs. But on the average, it's about 2.2 million annually. So think about when you're putting together your cybersecurity being proactive, because prevention is usually the best cure to help you be able to recover or even understand if you're actually being attacked or if an incident is happening. And then how you respond, even if it's in a timely manner, also can help with decrease some of these numbers as well. So think of cybersecurity as just any ordinary investment into your small business. It's never an investment that's wasted. Putting together these security measures can save your company anywhere between 70% of these potential breach recoveries, which, as you can see, is very large and can be, have damaging effects to your small business. Next slide. So if you're using payment systems, so most of this is from our retail folks, payment systems are a prime target during peak sales. So think about the holiday season, everyone's swiping, everyone's happy, everyone's out, they're shopping, they're trying to keep up with all the sales. And this is a great time. Like even we have coming up, we have Small Business Saturday. So you'll see a lot of small business owners that are out promoting their products and their services. And so sales are up, it's booming, which is great for the economy, great for everyone. But making sure that if you're one of those small businesses, that you're using protective measures to be able to protect your systems, protect your customers, protect your stakeholders during these peak sales. It could be everything from if you're using a payment processing software. If you see the sign to say, or the notification that comes up to say, update to the latest patch or to apply the patch or whatever hardware that you're using, use this time to do that prior to this peak season. If you haven't used compliance like PCI, DSS compliance, use that as well, implement that. And then if you have the ability, if there is a feature that's on your payment system to use things like two-factor authentication. And then even if you can't use two-factor authentication, make sure that you put a very strong password on your payment systems, and even use this time to even come up with a method. I've had some small business owners who during the holiday season, they would do a rotation of updating their passwords like every 2 weeks, just to try to keep, a password policy during these peak times. And that was something that they use as a preventive and a protective measure for their small business. So just a couple of tips to kind of help you if you're using payment systems. Next slide. So again, strong password policies, very crucial. So if this is a time where you need to update your password policies, or make sure that you're implementing strong policies, something that can be easily guessed, something that's unique, something that's complex for all your accounts. Avoid password reuse. I know it's very hard when some of the passwords are so sophisticated. It's almost like you're filling out, I say, like a foreign language in a combination with the mathematical statistical data form with this password now. I've had some clients that use password managers. There's pros and cons to both. Do your research to see if that is a preventive measure that you can put in place for your small business, and then look about the costs associated with that. But if you can't use a password manager, just avoid using your password across all passwords, and then use regular password updates, especially before the holidays. As I mentioned, I've had clients who will do it every 2 weeks during the holiday season, and I've even had some that was doing it like every week. Just because there was so much activity that was going on within their organization. So these are just some best practices. Weak passwords are easy targets for cyber criminals. They even have a website where you can go in and test your password, and it will even give you, based on like the amount of time that it would take for someone to crack your password. Use that as like a baseline to be able to see if you're using strong passwords as well. Next slide. And then again, monitor for any suspicious activity. This is going to be a peak time. So if you have an IT department, if you are the IT department, just monitor like the amount of email that's coming in, amount of spam that's coming in, amount of unusual activity that's happening. Use real-time monitoring tools with alert capabilities. So if you have functionality within the applications or programs or software that you're using, implement those so that you can get some alerts. Regularly look at your system logs to make sure there is any unauthorized access, and then focus on protecting your financial and customer data during this time. So put in those defense in depth activities will help you be able to monitor for suspicious activity. But also, if you do see something, I'm going to take DHS slogan, it's not mine. If you see something, say something, even if you're the owner or the employee, have an organization where people can have a way to report things to you in real time. We have a thing within our organization where we do weekly staff meetings, and then we talk about, different things that are maybe the activity that our employees are seeing within their mailboxes, or different things that they maybe heard, or different things that are happening in real time. And then we discuss those, and then we talk about different scenarios on how we can increase our cybersecurity efforts for our small business, or even take a look at some of the policies and see if there's things that we can adjust to make sure that we are protecting our stakeholders, our customers, and most importantly, our customer data and some of our financial data as well. Next slide. So in conclusion, kind of went through a lot of things very quickly. The key is to stay protected this holiday season. Cybersecurity is crucial for protecting your business and your customers. Follow some of these tips to reduce the risk and focus on growth. This is a great time. I know we're doing strategic planning. I was already into 2025, and I had a colleague of mine that said, well, you got to end the year strong. So use this time, in the holiday season to focus on growth. So we don't want to be focusing on growth and dealing with cyber attacks at the same time, right? As a small business owner, I know we're juggling so much. And then we have things like our employees taking time off, use or lose. There's all these different things that are happening all at the same time. And so a couple of rule of thumb that we do here at our organization is that If there is going to be a change in like our business hours, we will, make that available to our customers by updating our website, or we'll send out, an email blast telling them what's going on, just keeping them abreast. So we put together like a holiday newsletter. And in that holiday newsletter, we put some cybersecurity tips in there as well, so that that's also, fostering that communication and just keeping it fresh in mind. Because what I found is that cyber is one of those topics that if it's not discussed or it's not something top of mind, it's something that sometimes can go as a afterthought. But it's one of those things that is so crucial to our business. And so making sure that as business owners that we stay informed and that we're informing our employees is key, and even our customers. And a few other things that you can do that will be essential to taking a more of a protective stance this holiday season. If you do regular backups for your customer data, financial records, or key documents, take this opportunity before the holiday season, take a snapshot of your backups, and then do like incremental or do a full backup. There's options that you can use depending on the nature of the data that you're protecting and things that you want to keep in real time. And then this is very crucial, because I have a lot of clients that say, oh, I have backups, and then something happens, and then we're like, oh, the last time this backup was ran was months ago. And then my next question is, have you tested those backups? And then we go to try to restore from a backup, and voila, the backup is corrupt or something happened with the backup. And so it's great to have a practice of backing up the data, but also testing those backups, and then also securing those somewhere, either on site or in the cloud. And then, there's some pros and cons with both of those as well. So do your research to make sure that you're getting the level of cybersecurity or level of security that you need for your organization. And that will be able to help you protect very important data. Your trade secrets, your customer data, your financial records are all key documents for your organization. And then also, spend some time looking over before the end of the year. Like, look at some best practices, look at some lesson learned, look at things that you can take a more proactive stance in your small business. And that doesn't always have to just be all of the things that you're thinking about as it relates to technical. Think about some of the physical security, right? Use this time as also to look if you have a physical building or an organization where, people can come in to your office space, look and see about, are people just walking behind other employees as they're coming in? Are they doing what we call piggyback? And then making sure that they understand that when they let someone in, what that means, or, how that can impact the organization. If you're using things like visitor logs, take this time to look at the visitor logs and make sure that people are actually filling them out. We've done different social engineering scenarios for our customers, where we will just come in and just see if we can get access to the building, or we'll do things like we'll call the organization and see if we can get contact information. And this is all approved, as an exercise just for someone, a small business owner, to test their cybersecurity posture. And you'll be surprised that even when folks have received initial cybersecurity awareness training, you're doing all the newsletters and you're, briefing at your staff meetings, that just those key fundamentals, or people are giving out information. So, take this time to, even if you have an opportunity to review your incident response plan, you're making sure that all your contact information is up to date, that your employees and know who to call in the event of an emergency. Test out those scenarios, because that will also be very key and you staying protected this holiday season. Next slide. Any questions?
We have not had any questions drop in, but if you do have them, please pick Kiana's brain now while we have her live.
Yes.
And I'm going to post our webinar evaluation. It's a short poll just to see how we did, and also see if we can offer anything else to you in the future. And we appreciate it if you take a moment to fill that out.
Yes. So I know as we're coming off of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and then we go right into the holiday season, then we go right into the new year. I mean, it's a lot to think about doing so much with your small business. Especially, I know that right now, like we're in quarter 4, we want to end the year strong, and so we're spending so much time doing strategic planning. But even with the strategic planning, one thing that I've added as a KPI or a key performance indicator from our organization is how well are we doing in cyber? And that's from everything from is the training that we're producing and that our employees are getting from day one to anytime there's a security incident, any of the lessons learned. There are ways that we could have done things differently? Could there have been things that we could have taken a more preventative? Was there a preventative measure that we could have put in place? Or was it just something that it could have been? Because all cyber attacks are not always, or I'm not going to say sorry, all cyber incidents, because attacks are different. All cyber incidents don't always have to be intentional. There are a lot of unintentional things that happen, and it could just be an education thing. And I'm always a great advocate for that's regardless of any size of your business, regardless of what industry you're in. Every organization has to have a strong cybersecurity awareness education campaign, which means it's not just a one size fit all. It means that it's always reoccurring, and that we take the lessons that we're learning and that we're incorporating that back into our business processes. So those are things that I add as a KPI when I'm thinking about my strategic planning. And then I think about the year ahead. What things may be changing in the industry that I support, and I look at what risk with those changes. So I add that as an additional KPI because that also helps me prepare to be able to think about a proactive stance, because prevention is the best cure for a lot of the cyber incidents or attacks. And they can be intentional, but they can also be unintentional as well. So that's like my little nugget that I do with my own small business.
I like that. You know what? I have a question since there's nothing dropping in.
Yes.
We were talking about protecting our elderly relatives, our
Yes.
parents, grandparents. And you mentioned there's a place you can go to test your password.
Yes. Yes.
And do you happen to have that site handy, or is that something I could include in the follow-up email? I mean, I would like to know it, and I think it might be helpful to share. We're coming up in the holidays, like you said, we can share, make
Yes.
sure that our relatives are also using safe and secure passwords. So,
Yes, yes. I'll send it. I'll send you the links
okay,
for the websites. There's a few tools that you can use, but that
okay,
one I actually even do that. I do presentations with some of my youth, and we'll pull up the website, and then I'll say, give me a sample password, and they're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that. I wouldn't think that my dog plus maybe the address or something that can be exploited in 30 minutes, right? Because a
right.
lot of the tools are sophisticated. So definitely, I think that that's a wonderful tool. You can do it with your with your children, and also even with some of the
That's true.
more of our seasoned professionals as well. I call them like seasoned population as well, because
I like that.
I know that sometimes for even just myself,
Hmm.
I have my own senior moments, and I'm like, oh, all these passwords. And so it's
Right,
so easy to use maybe a common password or things that that you can remember. And
right.
so, I use formulas and for certain things, so that
Hmm.
things that are very unique to me, that you would have to be very close to me. And then I throw in some other things so that I can remember,
Sure.
because you have to kind of think about that as well. And then also another tool, I was talking to a colleague about posting things on social media. And I do this with the youth and also some of my senior professionals as we're leaving for the holidays. And I know we're so excited about where we're going, and and we're leaving, we're going to wherever for the holidays. That is also giving people an invitation to know when you're going to be away from your home, right?
Yes.
And so I always say, post after you come back, you know,
Agree.
post, it was a great trip, use that into practice. And I know it's hard because you want to share with your loved ones, but when you put those things on a social media platform, you're advertising to the world that I'm not
Right.
home. I've seen people there like, I'm at the airport, I'm leaving today, and I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. And I'm like, wow, you just told someone that your home is going to be you're going to be away and you're going to be gone for 2 weeks, right?
Exactly.
And so those are little things that we can think about in the holidays, because we're getting excited and we're so excited about different things. But just like that, cyber criminals are also looking for any type of loopholes to be able to, you know, do what they do, which is steal and attack.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Well, I will include those sites that you give me. I'll include those in the follow-up email. And it doesn't look like we have any other questions. So do you have a brief, like, little snippet you can give us, Kiana, that we can stick in our brains every time we open an email or whatever, something that just will stick there that says, wait, be
Yes.
cautious.
So even and you'll start to see, and if they already started coming in, you'll see your favorite stores, you know, sending out these emails and these coupons. Just take a moment before you click and get excited about the 20% off, 30% off, 40% off, right? Look carefully at that email. Look at the address bar. Make sure there's no misspelled words. Make sure that it's coming from a legitimate site, but they're also getting sophisticated with that as well. I don't click on any links in my email. That is just a rule of thumb for myself. I will go directly to the site to see if they have in a sale or coupons. And then that's how I will, take advantage of the sale or the promotion. So those are just small things that you can do, because they're getting very sophisticated, and you're going to see a lot of things coming on text messages. And I know we're all looking for a bargain. We want to be able to give the greatest gifts to our loved ones during this holiday season, but those are just practical things that you can use in your everyday life as well.
That was a good one. Thanks. Okay, so I'm going to close this out. Kiana, thank you so much. And thank everyone who attended today. You will receive an email with a link to the recording and to the slides. If you would like to sign up for upcoming webinars or access recorded webinars, please visit virginiasbdc.org/training. This webinar and other SBDC resources are designed to be used in collaboration with your local SBDC advisors. You can sign up for a free and confidential session by emailing help@virginiasbdc.org or via our website. And we hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. See you next time.